fellow cowboy enthusiasts, and welcome to Cowboy Nation Live. I am your host, Kenneth J., and as we enter the month of October, we would just like to remind you that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's that time when we remind ourselves and loved ones about annual screenings, because early detection saves lives. Now, as you can see, we've re-outfitted our studio in honor of all the breast cancer survivors and their families. Now, throughout the month of October, we will be paying homage to all those who have been touched by this disease through the color pink, just to remind them that early detection is key. And on another note, hopefully the Cowboys can detect why we suffered defeat for a second week in a row, as we also lost Sean Lee, Bryce Butler, James Hanna, and Lance Dunbar, who may be out for the rest of the season. We lost them to more injuries in Sunday's game. Now, early detection is key for the Cowboys so as not to waste our season. But in times like these, we are quickly reminded that football is an endurance test that checks the resolve of any team who wishes to surpass adversity. Now, it's been said that championship teams are forged through adversity. And if this is true, then the Cowboys are in for an exciting winter. But first, we'll explore what's going on with our Cowboys right after this. So please stay tuned, because you don't want to miss this. Welcome back to Cowboy Nation Live. I'm your host, Kenneth J. And as always, I'm truly honored and graced that you decided to tune in with Cowboy Nation Live. Now, from an offensive standpoint, the Cowboys had a good, if imperfect, start to this game. Once again, we got off to a quick start running the ball with Lance Dunbar, who rushed 3 times for 54 yards, getting half of the team's 90 yards before halftime on the second Dallas play from scrimmage, and who would also eventually leave the game hurt. That drive stalled with a Dan Bailey field goal, but the Cowboys would come back with a long drive for a touchdown in the second quarter, capped by a dangerous dive from the 1-yard line by none other than Joseph Randle, who rushed 11 times for just 16 yards when he almost had the ball punched loose for a turnover. But the replay showed he had broken the plane just before losing the ball. The drive was also helped by Saints' penalty, as they were flagged 6 times for 44 yards. The only first half penalty on the Cowboys, however, was a costly one, nullifying an interception on a perfectly designed defensive play. Now, Brandon Weeden, who is 16 for 26 with 1 touchdown, showed improvement with being a bit more aggressive when selecting his throws Sunday night. From the standpoint of expectations to performance for a backup quarterback, it is pretty difficult to leave too much on his shoulders after he put that drive together late in the game. The final drive the Cowboys offense put up on Sunday night was an amazing 91-yard touchdown drive with the game on the line and a 4th and 7 touchdown pass to Terrence Williams in the corner of the end zone. Now, when you get that from guys not named Romo and Dez, you have a hard time looking that gift horse in the mouth. It was the best Cowboys offensive moment in the game. Now, as far as our running game, unfortunately, the field was always long and the runners had difficult paths. After another first drive where the running plays came easy, the first 2 runs gained 59 yards, in which Dunbar ran for 45 yards in one of those. The rest of the game was a lot of running into the back of the offensive line again. The last 26 run plays of the game out of 28 yielded just 56 yards or 2.2 yards per carry. So much for the narrative that anyone can run behind this offensive line because they are that good. Randall would rush 11 times for 26 yards and 1 touchdown. McFadden rushed 10 times for 31 yards, and Dunbar, who left the game hurt, rushed 3 times for 54 yards, which left our defense on the field longer than they have been accustomed to. But we will delve into that after these messages on breast cancer awareness. We'll be right back. In the United States, breast cancer is the second most common cancer diagnosed in women after skin cancer. And while it can occur in both men and women, it is far more common in women. Substantial support for breast cancer awareness and research funding has helped improve the screening and diagnosis, as well as advances in the treatment of breast cancer itself. Breast cancer survival rates have increased and the number of deaths has steadily been declining, which is largely due to a number of factors such as earlier detection, new personalized approaches to treatment, and a better understanding of the disease. Now, the NFL, its clubs, players, the NFL's Players Association, and the American Cancer Society are committed to saving lives from breast cancer and addressing the unequal burden of cancer in underserved communities. The campaign, A Crucial Catch, in partnership with the American Cancer Society, is focused on the importance of annual screenings, especially for women who are 40 and older. Throughout the month of October, NFL games will feature players, coaches, and referees wearing pink game apparel, as well as additional on-field and in-stadium branding, all to help raise awareness for this important campaign. Now, much of the apparel worn at the games by players and coaches, along with special game balls and pink coins, will be auctioned off at the NFL auction, with proceeds benefiting the American Cancer Society's community health advocates that implement nationwide grants for empowerment and equity programs. Through the NFL auction, 100% of proceeds from pink products auctioned off will go directly to the American Cancer Society, as well as 100% of the NFL's proceeds from pink product sales. To learn more, please visit nfl.com/pink, and thank you for your support and patronage in getting the word out. Welcome back to Cowboy Nation Live, and once again, I am Kenneth J., your host. And let's delve into the defensive and special teams play of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, what could have been a signature moment for Whedon quickly soured due to the defense that hit its expiration date. Moments after New Orleans kicker Zach Hawker choked on a 30-yard field goal attempt, quarterback Drew Brees hit C.J. Spiller for an 80-yard touchdown bomb to lead the Saints to a 26-20 overtime victory. That took away any accolades adorned upon Whedon for his lead in a tremendous 91-yard drive that resulted into a touchdown for the Cowboys. How did all of this happen? Well, the attitude we had just a week ago in the second half against the Falcons resurfaced once again in the second half against the Saints. These were two games that we should have won, given the fact that we had halftime leads in both of them. However, we got eviscerated by two teams who showed more heart when it mattered most. 13 seconds after overtime began, it was over. The game in New Orleans felt like a contest that could be grabbed if the Cowboys, who remained unhurt, would just simply take it. There were so many opportunities. Oh my God, there were opportunities. But one has to question the football IQ of the Cowboys right now. On the opening drive of the game, Tyler Patman had an interception fall right into his hands and then right onto the ground. 2 drives later, Drew Brees would throw a helpless heave into the waiting arms of Barry Church in Saints territory. Unfortunately, that play would not count because Brandon Carr was called for needless defensive holding play. Wow. Now, the Cowboys would stop the Saints after New Orleans took over early in the second half at the Cowboys' 38-yard line. It was just the 3-and-out that the Cowboys defense needed. But when the punt team was ready to concede possession back to Dallas, the Cowboys were stuck with 12 men on the field because one of them couldn't get off. Instead, this small detail turned big as the Saints ran the field goal unit onto the field and accepted the generosity by taking the 3 points. Next possession, for the Saints, it sure looked like Andrew Gachkar had stripped the ball from Mark Ingram. But after further review, Ingram's knee got to the turf just in time before the fumble, and this kept the ball with the New Orleans Saints, who then added another 3 points. None of these situations cost the Cowboys their second loss of the season individually, but collectively, they were all missed opportunities, some by the mere fraction of a hair. Now, the margins between win or lose are so small in the NFL when all systems are go, but boy, how they shrink when you're on the road without your playmakers. The Cowboys had a real chance to win that game Sunday night against the Saints team that was just, they were begging to be defeated. But this group that currently wears the uniform with the star does not resemble that team from 2014 that would have just taken what they wanted. Now, for the biggest IQ failure, however, was when injured Gachkar was trying to limp off the field instead of calling for a timeout or even falling down for an injury timeout. Now, I admire toughness, but I don't admire the football IQ of the Cowboys at this point. All he had to do was fall to the turf if he was hurt. Instead, he tries to limp off and get a replacement. Drew Brees is much too smart for this because the moment he recognizes this advantage, that Damian Wilson is going to try to replace Gachkar from the Cowboys bench and sprint on as the Saints are already at the line could only mean that CJ Spiller is going to have a head start to the far sideline on the wheel route where Wilson never had a chance. Our fate was sealed and the game was over in 13 seconds. And with that, we'll be right back with our final thoughts and our analysis in next week's matchup as the Cowboys face the Patriots. Social media is not just an activity. It is an investment of valuable time and resources with people who are not just supportive, but also who provide valuable input to guide and to inform are thinking about ways to continue creating wow factors in our online presence. We appreciate you all for not only liking or subscribing to our social media outlets, but also for engaging in meaningful conversations via our social media pages. Accordingly, here's to you for making us better than we ever thought or even dare imagine. Thank you. Welcome back to Cowboy Nation Live. I am Kenneth J, your host. Now, the Cowboys face many challenges with all the injuries plaguing them. We are losing players faster than we are losing games these days. And with Sunday night's loss to the previously winless New Orleans Saints, the 2-2 Cowboys have given away our early cushion in the NFC East. We now find ourselves in a tie for first place with the New York Giants and Washington Redskins. And the sad part about it all is that the meat of our schedule arrives Sunday in the form of the defending NFL champion, New England Patriots. A trip to the Meadowland follows for a rematch with the suddenly surging Giants. Then, the defending NFC champion Seattle Seahawks pay us a visit. No doubt we will be the underdog in all three games and could slide into a huge hole in the division by the time Romo and Bryant return around Thanksgiving. But the good news is that our embattled defense will get its best run defender and pass rusher back next week against the Patriots, when middle linebacker Rolando McClain and defensive end Greg Hardy return from their NFL suspensions. We will need both of them against Tom Brady. But the bad news is that the best Dallas defender might not be ready for the Patriots. Weak side linebacker Sean Lee left the New Orleans game in the second quarter with a head injury and will now be subject to the NFL's concussion protocol. He enters Sunday night's game as the leading tackler, 34, leading sacker, 1, and leading interceptor, 1, on a unit otherwise devoid of playmakers. But in the end, we would win if everybody just did their job well, contributing their skills and talents when it really counts. No one person makes up a team, and we are scraping the barrel now due to injuries. But if we could gel together with what we have, we could at least win some games. The defense must take the ball away and present short fields for the offense. The special teams must give us great field possession, or at the very least keep our opponents on their side of the field. And the offense must do enough to hold its head above water by keeping the lead. That is what it is going to take, and if we dare to start winning again, I am hopeful that we can get it together. Now, with that said, we invite you to check out Cowboy Nation Live, where you can go to our fan page to upload a picture of you, your dog, or anything dressed in your favorite cowboy jersey or cowboy memorabilia, and you'll be entered into a drawing to win more cowboy paraphernalia. Also look for more cowboy news and updates on Cowboy Nation Live pages on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Google, and leave a comment about your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys. Now, in closing, we'd just like to thank our sponsor, KJ Multimedia, for their sponsorship, and it would be remiss if we didn't thank you, our viewing audience, for tuning in with Cowboy Nation Live. Now, don't forget your annual screenings, and if you're not warranted, please don't forget to tell your loved ones to get their annual screenings for breast cancer. Live in awareness. Well, that's our show for the evening, and we look forward truly to seeing you next week as we delve into the discussion of the Cowboys-Patriots game. Until then, good night, everybody.